what it looks like when the rain is coming towards you. It is pouring rain about 500 feet in front of me. Keep watching, keep watching. This happens all the time here. And you'll see it hit us here right now.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. June 27th, 2026. Let's get into it. So I put that video up front. That was actually in Alabama. I think the guy says that in the video. And because I always try to help you up front in the videos with a topic that's not related to geopolitics. Now, maybe that's a good idea, maybe that's a bad idea, but you know, I want you to get value out of these videos in more than one way. Anyway, I don't know if you saw, but the guy was completely blind at the end of the video when the rainstorm hit the car. And I got a story about that. I've told it in previous videos, but it was related to that video, and especially at this time of the year. 50% chance of rain today. I don't know if I can hear the thunder off in the distance. Hope we don't get wet out here in the forest. I hate getting wet in the forest. All this mud and sand splashing up on me. Anyway, I was in Virginia, and a storm very similar to that on 29 North, heading back to Washington, D.C. from Lynchburg, Virginia. And I had just gotten past Madison Heights. Speed limit, I think it's 60 through there. Anyway, so the storm came in, and I mean, it was just a wall of rain. I was like, what the hell is that? And I mean, it hit my car, and I couldn't see a damn thing. I had the windshield wipers going as fast as I could, you know, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was like, God dang. I said, what am I gonna do? So I edged the car slowly over into the ditch. Now, 29, I don't know if it's changed. They have a shoulder in some places it's just a ditch, okay? And if it had been a ditch, I wouldn't have been able to get the car out of the ditch. I would have had to call the tow truck to pull the car out, but I figured that was better than wrecking the car, you know, to put it in a ditch. Luckily, there was a shoulder there, because I couldn't tell in the storm. I mean, I couldn't tell if there was a shoulder there or not. And so I got off on the shoulder. I bet I hadn't been sitting there maybe a couple of minutes, and something went by. And you can kind of see it through the rain. Looked kind of like a pickup truck, but I couldn't tell him. But the water that was coming off of the road from that pickup truck, and he was going pretty damn fast. I mean, it rocked my car. It was like a wave hitting the side of the car. The car kind of rocked a little bit. I was like, God dang, that guy's an idiot, man. Holy shit. And then no sooner had he passed, probably another minute or two, maybe 3, I don't know how many, another truck went by. And he, once again, rocked the car. I mean, he was going pretty fast too. And I said, those guys are idiots, man. How can they see where they're going? So anyway, it only took about 20 minutes. I sat there. Usually I keep something to read in the car. I don't know about you. You should, if you're going to do a lot of driving. And so I just sat there and I was reading probably a magazine of some sort. So what? You take a 20-minute break off the road. Same with fog. Fog can get really dangerous too, a heavy fog. That is, sometimes you might want to just get a hotel room in heavy fog, because it's you can't wait out the fog because it'll be foggy all night, especially in Ohio on 75, for example. But anyway, so finally the storm passed. Rain just pretty much quit, gone. That quick, half an hour maybe tops. So I kind of edged back out onto the road, thanking God that I hadn't ditched into a ditch. I'd say I got about 5 miles. There was the first pickup truck in the median, plowed into a bank of dirt, sitting there, steam rolling off the front of the car. That truck wasn't going nowhere without a tow truck. I can guarantee that. I just kind of laughed, I mean, I should have gone over probably and seen if they were okay, but it didn't look like that much damage to me, just enough to, you know, it cost them a couple $1,000s in repair work. And of course, the towing services and the hassle and all of that. So then I kept going up the road. The second accident was even more severe. Once again in the median. I don't know how they ended up in the median. The second truck was upside down in the median with the tires spinning. And once again, I didn't pull over. I said, you know, if they're that stupid, probably, I mean, we're better off just letting them be, you know. I don't want to deal with stupid people like that. So anyway, that's the story. So now why am I telling you this story? Well, if you've got kids, they don't know any better. They're going to try to drive through a storm like that. And you should tell them, say, look, I want you, if you run into a rainstorm where you can't see anything, pull over, get off the road, pull into a parking lot or whatever you got to do, okay? And that goes for you too, of course. I mean, the person watching this video, I think I don't have a younger crowd that watches these videos, but that's just good advice. And especially tell your kids if it's a foggy day, you know, tell them you'll pay for the hotel room. Say, look, get you, you know, if it's a foggy night, and you can't drive, and you can't see, because what would happen to me is I would slow down in the fog to about 30 miles an hour, and cars would come flying up behind me. And I always worried about getting rear-ended, because they would blow right around me and just keep going at about 40, 50, you know, because the speed limit on 75 is, I think it's 75. I can't remember. Been a while since I've been to Michigan, or Ohio. So yeah, I mean, because they can't see either, but they were trying to get their speed way up, and they just blow past me. Luckily, nobody ever rear-ended me, thank God. All right, now that we got that story out of the way, let's get back to, just for 1 second, since I am that cybersecurity guy. Oh yeah, I forgot to do the thing. Hit that like button and subscribe. And to avoid censorship, watch my videos on BitChute and Rumble at the Burn channel. The Burn channel. And I'm the Burn Report on Telegram and the Burn Report on YouTube. Okay, because I had to go ahead. I went ahead and opened up a new channel on Telegram. Now I'm still learning how to use it, but you know, because I want to start following people on Telegram, much like I do it on X. Oh, and by the way, I'm back. I don't know why. At that cybersec guy on X. If you didn't know, I was suspended almost a week, I guess. And I was just playing with it last night or yesterday, because I looked for news for the video, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, it looks like I'm not suspended. So I went over. I said, I wonder if I can use Grok now. And so I typed in. I said, Grok, am I back? You know, and most of the time it would say, you know, try again, you know, no service, because when I was suspended, you couldn't use it at all. And all of a sudden, Grok answered. And Grok goes, yeah, we see no suspension on your account. And of course, I asked him, I said, what do you think I was suspended for? And he had no answer. I still don't know. I'll tell you what, though, I will be posting a lot less on X now. Mainly just upload a video there every now and then, maybe do a repost, an occasional reply. That's going to be it. No more links back to my account. No more posting videos from, well, I shouldn't say no more. You know, I might put up a link back to a YouTube video every now and then, but I don't want to lose my X account, because that's where I get a lot of my news for these videos. So, all right. Well, of course, we got to talk about Venezuela for just 1 second. Now, we're getting wildly varying numbers. Now, I also have a lot of video, not in this video. I have a lot of video of the damage. It's unbelievable. I mean, what was a 7.1 and a 7.5? 2 quakes. I mean, my God, I've never been in an earthquake that I can recall. And, but I imagine 7.5, I don't even know how high the Richter scale goes. Does it stop at 8? You tell me. But that was one severe earthquake. And unfortunately, in Venezuela, they don't have earthquake building standards. Now, they used to have them in California, but California is so corrupt. In fact, in the next video, I have a video, I'm not going to put it in this one, on the corruption in California and how that state is just it's just gone to hell in a handbasket. And of course, you already know that, but it was a good video. I was going to include it here, but the theme of this video is going to be on COVID. This is my COVID video. So if you don't want to hear about COVID, go ahead and cut off right now. But yeah, so the number of dead, well, reported last I heard was 250, but some people are saying it could breach 10,000 people dead. And that's because of their lack of building standards. You know, if those buildings had been engineered for an earthquake, you know, a lot less people would have died, of course. But that's, you know, it gets back to stick-built houses. I never understand stick-built houses for the American people. You know, why haven't we learned? Well, here in Florida now, I've noticed that a lot of houses are going up as cinder block. Because we have termites galore down here. So it doesn't make sense to build a wooden house. Plus you want something sturdy that can survive a hurricane. And these cinder block built houses, and that seems to be all I've seen around. I haven't seen too many wooden houses built now. So that's good. At least we're learning just a little bit here in Florida. But in the Midwest, you know, where you get a lot of tornadoes or Tornado Alley, I don't understand why they don't put up earth homes. If you didn't know, an earth home, you actually kind of, you build the house kind of deep. You dig a hole in the ground, not too deep, and then, you know, you bring the dirt up over top of the roof. You could bring it over top of the roof, or you could just bring it up to the roof. And so the house, kind of like in the Hobbits. Remember when they built their little Hobbit homes into the side of a hill? That's an earth home. And by the way, you get the geothermal effects, so it's a lot cheaper to heat the house, cool the house. And then, of course, if a tornado comes by, it's just going to go right over the house. I've seen pictures where they drove bulldozers over top of these earth homes. So why don't they build earth homes in these in the Midwest? Doesn't make sense. But, you know, human race, that's why I call it watching the world burn. Seems all we do is just burn the world down with no common sense whatsoever. So anyway, thoughts and prayers to the people of Venezuela. I know that none of you will probably ever watch this video, but my heart goes out to you. I did hear that the Marco Rubio say that we might be sending some help down there for rescue and recovery. I hope that's the case. I'd like to see the United States do something good for a change rather than just wage war and genocide people all around the world. That'd be a good thing. So we got a picture here. Now we're getting into the COVID portion of the video. And it says, do you believe that employers who forced the COVID vaccine should be sued? Well, do you? Leave a comment. I think they should. Yeah, that's you're threatening somebody's livelihood just because you believe that the government in their psyop that the COVID vaccine needed to be forced on your employees. I'm not going to say whether it worked or not. I don't want to get banned from YouTube. That's up to you. You get the jab. If you're a Democrat, get the jab. Get the booster to your booster to your booster to your booster, and boost that, and then boost on top of that if you're a Democrat. So then we got a picture of Democrats who fired service workers who refused the jab. Unbelievable. Remember, service members, excuse me. If you didn't know, the pilots, after they got the jab, they were having problems when they reached certain heights in those planes. And it really had an effect on the military. And a lot of people got thrown out of the military. Mostly your conservatives. I mean, you know, any liberal in the military or Democrat, they're going to get the jab in regardless. But the service members who refused were thrown out of the military. That was unbelievable. So here's some of the brainwashing that took place back then. We got a video of Be Afraid of COVID. Let's watch that video.
President Trump wrote on Twitter, "Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life." Don't let it dominate your life?
In terms of responding to a comment like that, it's gross.
It's okay to be afraid of COVID, and it's okay that it's dominating your life.
Everyone should be afraid of COVID.
You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
I can't come in, Mom. It's because of this flu thing.
We won't be free of this pandemic until we listen to the acknowledged truth. Listen to the scientists.
Science is truth.
You know, science is truth. What is the impact to public health when people are openly questioning the science. Now is the time to do what you're told.
By not hearing the truth, by not listening to the scientists, they are prolonging how bad the economy will be.
When I see somebody out in the world who's not wearing a mask, I instantly think you are a threat, or you are selfish, or you are a COVID denier, and you definitely haven't been vaccinated.
Either wear a mask or get the fuck out.
What does this have?
Are you vaccinated? I am triple vaccinated. So why are you wearing the mask?
Seek out the scientists and listen to their advice.
Listen to scientists. Listen to the scientists.
Trust the experts.
We're going to trust science. We're going to trust the experts.
Parents who say, well, I need to do my own research, makes you think of that cartoon I saw of the tombstone that said, I did my own research.
Republicans have given their voters license to believe whatever they want to believe.
Heard somebody saying, listen to the scientists. Do that.
Let's listen to the scientists.
That phrase, do your own research, it's popping up a lot in conversations about coronavirus and about COVID vaccines. Doing your own research, it seems so innocent, but it can have serious consequences. Renee, what are the roots of this phrase? I feel like I used to hear it around QAnon craziness.
Tase somebody over a mask. Tasing this lady over not wearing a damn mask.
If some jerk exposed my mother to COVID because they didn't want to wear a mask, I would want to kill them.
We can watch the experts, but we shouldn't be listening to Trump, a non-medical professional.
Well, the answer is listen to Bill Gates. Bill's right about a lot of things, and he's the steep learning curve in global health.
And we're really seeing just how important it is to follow science.
Yes, exactly. And we need to listen to scientists.
The idea that people are questioning the science behind the vaccine.
The science checks out. Even if you don't believe in the science, you think you're tough enough and you're healthy enough and you're young enough. The scientists were right all along. Eventually, the science catches up with you.
Are we doing more harm than good by questioning the science behind J&J?
Trust that vaccine.
Trust the experts. Listen to the medical experts. Trust the experts. If you don't understand the science, you don't know what you're fighting.
Just let the experts speak. So maybe you should just shut up right now.
You don't want to take advice from your golf buddy or from your aunt. You want to listen to the scientists.
Can we all stop saying, I need to do my own research?
You see the ultimate effects of what happens when you don't listen to the scientists.
This isn't about being scared. This is about scaring us straight.
Science, science, and science. Only listen to the scientist.
If we follow the science, imagine, instead of staying locked up in their rooms, they're able to hug their grandchildren. This isn't about freedom. It's about freedom for your neighbors.
You can give each other a hug as long as everyone is fully vaccinated.
Listen to the scientists like the rest of us.
We have to listen to the scientists. We'll listen to the scientists.
Every scientist, every expert, listen to the experts.
Listen to the science because the science works.
Very much.
Yeah.
I think trust science.
All right, so I'll put it up now. Never again, baby. Never again. I forgot to tell my story about Fauci. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. I think I got it later in my notes here. All right, so now we got a video. Remember I told you that CBS, NBC, MSDNC, you name it, Washington Post, New York Times, they're not, they didn't report on what Tulsi Gabbard said about the Biolabs or what she said about Fauci. Hardly at all. Let's watch that video now.
Well, I gotta tell you, I hope the media covers this. It's Fox and Fox Business, and of course, Real America's Voice and the independent stations that are even covering this Biolab document release. Is a complete blackout on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC. These stations are so loyal to Fauci. They brought him on time and time again as he was lying to America that the SARS-CoV-2 virus came out of a Chinese wet market in Wuhan. So what Fauci needs to answer under oath with this most recent subpoena is, what did he know about the Wuhan lab? And, how many times did he have EcoHealth Alliance Director Peter Daszak go to the lab? How many times has Daszak actually physically been in the lab? What happened to the diffuse protocol, the final piece that made the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein lock into ACE2 receptors and invade the human body? And finally, what is Fauci's overall relationship with the intelligence community, the Department of Defense, and the media?
Okay, so don't take my word for it. Take about what was in that video. And I wanted to hit on Russia for just 1 second. You're saying, well, this is a COVID video. Well, a lot of people said Russia just decided to invade Ukraine, to annex it for no reason. Well, guess what? Tulsi Gabbard reported there was 40 biolabs in Ukraine trying to engineer viruses to unleash on Russia. Now, what would you think if China, or let's say Russia, had a biolab, 40 biolabs in Canada and Mexico, and they were engineering viruses so that they could dump them on the American people? What would you do about that? You think you might just go into that country and take out those biolabs? I think I might do that. I mean, if I was in charge, but who knows? I guess the American people would just put up with them biolabs because it seems to be okay to have them right next to Russia, right? That seems to be the feeling of the American people, especially if you're a boomer. By the way, speaking of boomers, what the hell is wrong with these old people in our country? I mean, not only are they stupid, not only have they driven the country into a freaking mess, I feel sorry for the young people coming up now because their parents, if they're my age, they're flipping idiots. I mean, look at the vote. They put Lindsey Graham, the lady Lindsey Graham, back in office. Who the hell would vote for Lindsey Graham? I mean, except an old person. You can't tell me that young people were voting for Lindsey Graham. No, also, I'm sure, and of course Thomas Massey, they voted him out. He's one of the best congressmen in Congress, one of the most honest people that I've seen in Congress. And of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene's gone too. What's wrong with these old people? I mean, I understand they get brainwashed by the media because they don't watch alternate news. Some of them don't even know what YouTube is. But still, I mean, they got to have kids. I mean, maybe when you're sitting around the Thanksgiving Day table, and you're back home with the parents, start, talk the news just a little bit. Oh, that's politics. We don't want to talk about politics. Oh my God, we can't talk about politics. That's what you get from old people. Oh man. All right, so we got this video to back this up. You want to know where the money was coming from for a lot of shenanigans that we did in Russia? Check out this video.
Враги. Это американского народа, блядь. Вороги, блядь.
There you go. USAID. Thank God, Trump. That was one of the good things he did. Him and Elon took on USAID, probably one of the most evil institutions, pretty much just a Democrat front for all the evil, or CIA Democrat front for all the evil that went on in the world. Now, I don't know if we're still funding USAID. We probably still are to a certain degree. I don't know if Elon was successful in getting rid of it completely, but at least it was brought into the limelight and a lot of people learned about it. This was an interesting statistic from Scott Ritter. I think I might have talked about this previously. He's back from Russia. If you didn't know, he was over in Russia for about 2 weeks. And he said in the drone war that up to 1,000 Ukrainians are dying per day. Now, we know the number got released kind of officially that we got 2.1 million dead Ukrainians so far. But the number of Russians that are dead, it might be a lot higher than we think. Because evidently the Wagner troops are not reported in the Russian statistics. And I think about 50,000 of them died or more in that battle in Bakhmut before Prigozhin did his coup on Putin, and then I guess Putin murdered him on his plane. I don't know. I mean, I have no proof of that. It was funny that his plane went down mysteriously, wasn't it? Yeah, and so he was saying it could be as much as 2 to 1. 2 Ukrainians dead for every 1 Russian. So that means that you could have upwards of 500 dead Russians per day, and 1,000 dead Ukrainians per day in that war. That is one hell of a war. I can't even imagine. Imagine those numbers in a war with the United States. Now, we would have those numbers for sure if we took ground troops into Iran, but I don't know. I can't see how we could do that. The logistics alone, how in the world we get all those troops over to a staging area, because you'd need upwards of 1 million troops to invade Iran. And where in the hell would you stage them all? How would you feed them all? Where would you put them all so that Iran couldn't hit them with the missiles? Because they're not going to sit around and let us, like, Iraq did, and just build up all our forces in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait at that time. So yeah, so that was an interesting number from Scott Ritter. Now we got a video here. Reason I wanted to include this video, because in working with Grok, I'm still trying to figure out why I got suspended on X. And so I put up a post, and I said the demon Fauci in that post. That was my first post back since I got unsuspended at that CyberSec guy on X. And Grok says, well, one of the reasons you're using language like demon, don't put the word demon in an X post. I said, but Fauci is a demon, in my opinion, And so I'm probably going to end up getting suspended again because I can't curb my language well enough to exist politely on X. But anyway, this is Joe Rogan talking about what a monster Fauci was.
What I've never understood is how this became a left or right issue.
So stupid.
When Fauci, who's a career bureaucrat, right? When all this started, there was a Republican president.
Yep.
Right? And then he served that Republican president. He served the Democratic president before that, and then he served a Republican. He's been there for fucking 50 years.
Yeah. He's been there forever.
This dude, it's not political. It shouldn't be political. There shouldn't be a right-left side to this. It's, hey, a career bureaucrat fucking lied to us.
He used the exact same language when he was talking about AZT as a medication for HIV that he used for the COVID vaccine. The reason why it's the only medication is because it is both safe and effective. The guy's a monster.
Yeah.
So, he's one of those guys, throughout history, where you're going to look back over time and you go, holy shit, this one guy's lies, this one guy's aspirations, this one guy's career fucked so many people over.
Yeah. And I don't understand why Democrats would want to fall on that sword with. There's no reason to align.
Because people are stupid, and they just decide that because a Republican's a president and anything the Republicans are pushing has to be bad.
Yeah, wasn't that a good video? I like Joe Rogan. I don't watch his show hardly ever, but I do find him, he's very relaxed. He gets a lot out of people. If you ever notice that he puts them at ease, and they'll talk about things they wouldn't talk about, on Fox News or any other venue. Plus, it's a long-form content. That's why I like Tucker Carlson when he does his interviews. I like long-form content because, at Fox News, for example, you got to get your point across in 30 seconds. That's impossible. No way that you can make your point in 30 seconds, And then they just give you a bunch of fluff, that the CIA hands to them. However, we do have a video. Let's keep going. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this. So way back in the day, probably nobody's ever followed me on That Cybersecurity Guy. That's my other channel on YouTube. But back in the day when I first started making videos, they were mainly hiking videos. But even on those, I kind of ruined the hiking videos because I would get into politics as I was hiking along, just like I do now, except these are meant to be political videos. The hiking videos were meant to be hiking videos, Getting out, call it Outdoors with Kirk on Rumble. That's my channel. I haven't posted there for a while just because I haven't been out for a hike to make a hiking video. But anyway, a lot of people were turned off that I talked about things. But one thing I wanted to point out, even in 2000, at the heat of the COVID psyop, the kids in the playgrounds here in Florida were out playing, no problem. You know, whereas in Democrat states, you could, I mean, they even roped off the pharmacies and stuff, you know. You couldn't go outside. If you did, you would be arrested. Well, here, you know, we were kind of wide open, not initially, but after about a couple of weeks. And so the kids were in the playgrounds. None of them had masks on. They were just playing away, having a good time. And I would point the camera at the playground. I'd say, Fauci, you got to come down here, Fauci. You need to put masks on these kids, Fauci. That would be the way I would handle the video. So if you ever go back and want to watch one of my old videos, I've been on Fauci from the very beginning. And one thing I do fault Trump for, why in the hell? I mean, look at the old photos. Fauci was always right behind Trump. Trump never recognized Fauci as a liar. To this day, his Justice Department hasn't done anything against Fauci. Maybe Fauci's got something on Trump. Just like I think Benjamin Netanyahu probably has some Epstein files on Trump. It's the only way I can explain things. Anyway, here's that Fox News video I was telling you about. So Fox News does report some things properly. And that's why I said they gave a little bit of coverage to what Tulsi Gabbard had to say. Let's watch that video.
Fauci pushing the unproven theory that the COVID pandemic came out of a wet market in China, but then that was EcoHealth Alliance chief Dr. Peter Daszak, a friend of Dr. Fauci, admitting that the Wuhan lab in China was genetically creating, quote, killer super coronaviruses. This is gain-of-function research so as to sell vaccines. EcoHealth Alliance did get U.S. taxpayer money to do this dangerous research. And now former DNI Tulsi Gabbard declassified documents showing the CIA warned Dr. Fauci about a Wuhan lab accident where lab workers did get infected in late 2019. Let's bring in Dr. Peter McCullough. Doctor, what's your take on them talking about this? The documents show a government official under Joe Biden said they saw this video of Daszak talking about inserting spike proteins into viruses to make them super viruses more infectious to bind to human cells. What's your take?
Fauci, when he was talking about the wet lab, he was lying through his teeth. He knew all the while that SARS-CoV-2 was created in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and his influence was enormous through the intelligence community, the academic community.
All right, so that was Fox News. And then of course I list them here. Once again, CNN, MSDNC, Washington Post, New York Times, NBC, CBS, ABC, little or no coverage of the COVID nightmare. All right, well, we're on to page 2. Okay, so this is a fun video. I actually debated on whether to put this video in my video, but this is Robert Kennedy Jr. Tell you what, I love that guy. He's doing everything he can, it looks like, within the constraints of a corrupt Trump administration. But in this video, he talks about how the jab turned people gay. I was like, what? That was one I hadn't heard. And I was like, is this a joke? I'm not sure. I mean, I just found this video, but the rest of what he says is correct. But let's watch that video of Robert Kennedy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those kind words. Mark Wayne, thank you to Jim O'Neill, to Tom Jodesnik, to Marty McCary, and to Wendy as well. Thank you for that, for sharing your story. It's with a heavy heart that I'm announcing that the conspiracy theorists were right again. COVID mRNA vaccines caused a litany of injuries, including but not limited to turbo cancer, heart failure, extreme blood clotting, and perhaps gayness. That's a chicken and egg problem that we're still investigating. The implications are substantial, and there's no easy way to say this. Anthony Fauci is a goblin, and if you weren't gay prior to taking the vaccine, there's a massive chance that your sudden desire to binge the Bravo channel and watch Tim Walz rallies isn't an accident.
All right, so that was Kennedy. And if you didn't get it from the video, this was a political earthquake by confirming the so-called conspiracy theories about COVID, chemical trails, and government deception that were not theories at all. They were cold, hard truth, deliberately hidden from the public. Which, is Bill Gates still doing weather manipulation with chemical trails? I haven't seen too many here in Florida. What do you think? Are we still doing weather manipulation with chemtrails? I haven't heard anything. By the way, I hope you're hearing that thunder off in the distance. We're taking a hell of a risk being out here. So we got a video, also the next video from Robert Kennedy, and this is on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. Remember when Fauci banned those and guided everybody to the very expensive remdesivir, which turns out it didn't work all that well? And they were calling all the, like, Fox News and CNN, they were calling ivermectin a horse pill and all this other crap. And now it's freely available again. So if you get sick, and by the way, don't ever think I make light of COVID. I was one of the first people to get it. I got it in January of 2020, and it knocked me on my ass for an entire month. But thank God I didn't go to the hospital, but I had a lot of trouble breathing. I couldn't sleep laying down. I had to sleep in a chair, sitting up, what little sleep I could get. I coughed 24 hours a day. And of course, I was still married at that time. And man, that was another reason we got divorced. My ex-wife was on me. You need to go to the hospital. You need to go see a doctor. I said, honey, it's just at that time I thought it was a bad case of the flu. And I said, there's nothing they can do about the flu, man. I said, you just got to ride it out. Drink plenty of liquids. Maybe take some aspirin every now and then or something. I said, but there's just not a lot. And of course, drink lots of vitamin C. Do what you can, but you can't. And it turns out I made the right move. That gave me natural immunity. Remember when natural immunity wasn't a thing in COVID? Oh yeah, natural immunity is no good. You got to get the jab. Unbelievable what the American people will watch. But let's watch that video from Robert Kennedy now.
Tony Fauci's problem was this. There's a little-known federal law that says you cannot give an emergency use authorization to a vaccine if there is any medication approved for any purpose that is shown effective against the target disease. So if Tony Fauci or anybody had admitted that hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin are effective against COVID, it would have been illegal for them to give the emergency use authorizations to the vaccines, and they could never have gotten them approved. And it would have been, a $200 billion enterprise that would have collapsed.
That is fascinating. I mean, I have been covering this very closely now for all of the 2 years. That's the first I've heard that. I mean, in your book. So he would not have gotten emergency use authorization for the vaccine if the medical community had been saying ivermectin works. It is an effective treatment for COVID.
Well, the medical community, a lot of it was saying that. I mean, there's 17,000 doctors who've signed a petition, and there are so many peer-reviewed publications now that consistently say that, but he had to aggressively crusade against it to kind of drown out those reports by saying it's a horse medication, it's, people are taking it and it's dangerous and it's overdosing people. And,
well, why did he keep saying it? Why did he keep saying it after he got his authorization?
Well, even if you have the emergency use authorization, the law appears to say you can't have it anymore if there's a functioning medication. So, that may be why. Again, I try not to look in his head, but I do. There's a very, very strong incentive for him to kill ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And, there are many doctors, including Harvey Reich of Yale, who's one of the leading biostatisticians, epidemiologists in the world. Peter McCulloch, who is the most published doctor in the history of the world in his specialty. Pierre Corey, these doctors who've treated tens of thousands of COVID patients successfully. They consistently say, and the science supports this, that 500,000 Americans did not need to die.
All right. That's why I said Robert Kennedy was great. But I did want to tell a quick story about how brainwashed people were. So at that time, I used to go to the VFW on a regular basis because I liked, that was before I broke my neck, of course. And I was kind of friends with one of the bartenders. Her name was Lisa. And, you know, so we got to talking. And of course, at the VFW, you got to be real careful what you say. You talked about hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, you know, they'll kick you out because that's considered political. But anyway, it was just me and her in there. And I said, yeah, I can't believe that Fauci's going on and on about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And she goes, yeah, I couldn't believe it either. The doctor prescribed to my father hydroxychloroquine to treat his illness. She goes, I grabbed that stuff out of his cabinet and threw it right in the garbage. I said, real? I said, were you, I wanted to say, are you crazy? But I was kind of friends with her, trying to be nice. I said, well, hell, I would have paid you money for it. And she goes, you're crazy. You're crazy. But man, the doctor prescribed, must have been a good doctor, hydroxychloroquine to treat her father. This was in 2020. I imagine he might have had a slight case of COVID. And she threw it in the garbage. Told him he couldn't take it. That's how brainwashed people got back then. Unbelievable. I mean, going against what the doctor says. Of course, a lot of doctors, you do need to go against what they say. All right, we got, this is Ron Johnson. Senator Ron Johnson. Like I said, there are no good Democrats, but there are some good Republicans. And this is him on vaccine injuries. Let's watch Ron Johnson now.
My committee's got now over 8 million pages of information. Just in the first tranche, by the way, what we discovered is that CDC, somebody in the federal health agencies, this interagency communication, hid the signal. They admitted there was a signal on myocarditis, and they hid it. They didn't warn the public. They didn't warn doctors. So that's just one instance of corruption and lies told by the CDC. We've got a lot of others we'll be rolling out, okay? So we held our first hearing in permanent subcommittee investigation on that hiding of the signal of myocarditis. We've heard a lot of studies, okay? As I've looked into science, it's been thoroughly corrupted. Here's data, and I'd like to enter this sheet into the record. I've been publishing this chart for, since really early 2021, when I'm on, for example, talk radio shows and they talk about this, they get deplatformed, or they were, because of all the censorship in the Biden administration. Here's the facts. The VAERS system that was touted in October of 2020, this great safety surveillance system on COVID, a few months later, when they didn't like the results, they started denigrating their own system. But VAERS shows that there have been 38,742 deaths reported on VAERS worldwide associated with the COVID vaccine. 38,742. 9,252 of those deaths occurred on the day of vaccination within 1 or 2 days.
All right. So that was Ron Johnson. So now we got, this is a picture, because one of the things that I've noticed, a lot of the whistleblowers back then, a lot of people that came out, they either lost their jobs, they were discredited, like Robert Malone, they were made fun of, or in some cases, they were disappeared. I can say that on YouTube. They were disappeared. I can't say the other word. But, so this is a picture of a bioweapons whistleblower expert. He was found dead in 2025 under mysterious circumstances. A lot of these people turn up dead under mysterious circumstances. Of course, it's always reported probably as a suicide. So we got, that was the picture there. Now we got, this is John McAfee, M-C-A-F-E-E. And this was, he was disappeared right after making this video on the deep state. Now, why would he disappear right after making this video? Let's watch that video now.
The deep state is a conspiracy theory of It's defined as the people within the U.S. government and military who are in secret control of government policy. Secret? Please, people. The deep state is those people within the U.S. government that are career employees that cannot be fired by people that we elect, by the Congress or the President. There are the FCC, the CIA, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the IRS. Are these people in control? Can they enact laws? Fuck yes. They're called regulations. For every law that Congress passes, and we elect Congress to pass our laws, there are 20 regulations enacted by federal agencies that have far more impact on our lives than anything Congress can possibly pass. Is there a deep state? Yes. Can we fire these people? No. Can presidents fire them? No. It's designed that way so that political parties and political interests cannot affect the deep state. Do you understand the nightmare of our situation, people? I'm sorry. It's not secret. It's as open as anything could be. In the past, since 1975, 200,000 regulations have been passed by our federal agencies, encompassing 800,000 pages of fine print. People, it is no secret. It is as open as it can be. The deep state does control America. Wake up, people, please. God, use some common fucking sense. Thank you.
Wasn't that interesting? Gone. Nobody knows where he is. Probably in some acid bath somewhere, be my guess. So I'm going to put that picture up, never again, up right now. Hope you're looking at it. Never again. I mean, at least I'll fight against it. I imagine your parents will go along with whatever the government says. If you're a young person watching this video, or if you're over 50, you probably just watch CNN and you might have clicked on my video by accident. But let's remember what the demon Fauci and the Democrats, the World Health Organization, and I'm going to include China in that category because they allowed that Wuhan lab in their country. You know, who knows whether they might have released it on purpose, even though we funded the research that developed the COVID virus. So this is what I want you to remember. They locked you in your house. They made you wear a mask to work and everywhere. Your kids to wear a mask at school. Told you the jab gave you immunity when it did not. Remember people getting sick after they got the jab? But then they said, oh, well, they got less sick because they got the jab. Okay. Made you remain 6 feet apart. Basically, you know, trying to interfere with your social interaction that normal human beings need. Mandated an experimental mRNA killing shot. Put China virus infected patients in with old people in nursing homes to kill them. Remember in New York, all those old people in the nursing homes that died? And by the way, what was the governor back then? Como? He never went to jail for that. He killed thousands of people, just like Fauci. Well, Fauci killed millions. And these mass murderers don't ever seem to go to jail. It's wild. It's a mixed up world. That's why I call it watching the world burn. Because all the evil doesn't get punished. I mean, if you're doing 5 over the speed limit, a cop pulls you over, you get punished. But if you go out and you mass murder thousands of people, you don't even go to jail. Doesn't make sense. At least he's not governor no more. Would not allow you to visit your loved ones in nursing homes as they died. Roped off outdoor places. I got a story on that one. So there's a trail that goes, if this wouldn't make sense to you, but it goes from basically Baseline Park over to, there's a road way out. It's a great hike. But believe me, it's just like here. I'm out in the forest on this trail. And back then, nobody even knew about the trail because it was hard to get to because they didn't maintain it the way they do now. And so I went, I'm hiking that trail. And of course, I never saw a single person ever, but I was just out to get some exercise. And that was before Florida had kind of opened up. This was right in the beginning. So I figured, let's go out in the forest and get my exercise. Catch me if you can. And I just so happened, I reached the end of the trail and I got close to the road. And there just happened to be a ranger driving down that road. And he hollers out the window, "Hey, you're not allowed to be out here." And I just turned around and said, "Oh, I didn't know that. All right, I'll hike on back to the car." I just played along. I was a long ways from the car, because I figured he wasn't going to get out that car and chase me. But you never know. Oh, man. Keep dropping my notes. But yeah. And then what happened was, the reason I'm telling this story is they roped that area off. So that, and, put up police tape. Said this forest is closed for use. Closed off a whole forest. Just because they saw me hiking in there. Maybe I do some destruction every now and then, huh? That was so ridiculous back then. Asked your neighbors to rat on you. Kept your children out of school. Made your children wear masks while in school. Kept your children from playing sports. Killed thousands of jobs. Brought in infected illegal aliens by the millions with no medical checks. Closed down small businesses while keeping the big corporate businesses open. That was one that got me. Got a story on that. So I'm in Lynchburg, Virginia. And it was much, the lockdowns were much worse in Virginia than they were here in Florida. That was back when my mom was still alive. Anyway, so I went to McDonald's and they had it all roped off. You could only go through the drive-through window, but at least McDonald's was open. And right next door was a small business. It was a mom and pop shop where you could get, you could go in and get grandma's food. And that was closed by order of Lynchburg. So why was the McDonald's open and the mom and pop shop next door closed? And then just down the street was a Walmart. Walmart was completely open. You could go in there. In fact, you could sit. Now, you were supposed to wear a mask at that time as you're walking around in Walmart, but they had a Subway in there. And so when you got into the Subway, you could take the mask off to go ahead and eat your sub. And I thought, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But once again, the Walmart was open, but every single small business in Lynchburg, including some of the garages where cars get repaired, were closed, unless it was a chain garage. Like a Jiffy Lube or something like that. I'm sure they probably remained open. But, Davis Auto, who's owned by a small business owner, they shut that down. And people went along with this. Don't you think that's strange? I always did. Oh yeah, this happened to me. It seems like everything back then happened to me. Banned or censored you from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Google search, and everywhere on the internet if you said the wrong things. And so back then, I remember one video, I mentioned masks, and I guess I put it in a negative light at that time. And man, YouTube, strike! You are banned from using YouTube for, I think they only actually did it for about a week, which was good. But I was like, wow, there. So I really I'm sure I'm just like everybody on YouTube. I just completely refrained from talking about COVID. And that was before you had alternate sources like, well, I imagine Telegram was around back then, but I didn't know anything about it. And I don't remember if Rumble was around or not. Maybe it was. That might have been when I started using Rumble, as a matter of fact. I don't think BitChute was around back then. So you can see, there were, and of course, Twitter was completely shut down. I actually, that was something I was wondering when I finally got back on X, formerly Twitter. I was going, because one of the things that ChatGPT told me, said, well, if you've got a long-term history with X or Twitter, that'll work in your favor. Maybe that's why one of the reasons they brought my account back. I didn't realize. I actually started my Twitter account back in 2014. So I've been on Twitter for a long time. But for the longest, and of course, I only posted there like once every 6 months or so because I knew I was completely censored. But for the longest time until Elon Musk took it over, I only had 17 followers, so it really wasn't worth it. I'd only just put up a post about something that I thought was important just to get it out there for posterity, in the, what do they call it, the time machine, the time back machine, where you can go back on the internet. Yeah, censored. Many lost their jobs, many lost their friends, and many committed suicide. I'll talk about friends for just a minute. Back then, I had many Democrat friends because my wife, she was a huge flaming Democrat. And back then, I wasn't geopolitical. I wasn't political at all. All I was doing was playing golf and having fun until they did the COVID psyop. So I didn't get radicalized until January of 2020 after I had the disease. And of course, my wife, she went along with everything, screaming at me to put on a mask in the house. And I said, I ain't wearing no damn mask in my own house. And that was the beginning of the end of the marriage right there. And of course, she couldn't play golf because they had the golf course roped off. So that was when I got into hiking, heavily into hiking, because there was nothing else to do. And so anyway, I ended up losing all of my associates. I did have some, one guy I played golf with, because I supported Trump, and he hated Trump with a passion. He didn't want to talk to me. I had some friends in Greensboro. I called him up, and I was arguing about wearing masks and the jab. And the woman who had been a friend of mine for quite some time, her name was Patty. She told me never call her number ever again. She didn't want to ever speak to me again. So I haven't talked to them since the year 2000. But I had relatives who didn't want anything to do with me. So because there was two things I was doing wrong. I was coming out against the jab, and I was supporting Trump. And, and you say, well, Trump, even back then, he did a lot of stupid stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. He did more good than bad. Certainly wasn't anywhere near as bad as the Democrats, although now I can't say that after what he's done. So let's get this final. The Democrats perpetrated the greatest psychological operation on the American people in the history of the United States. And yet, no corporate person has been brought up on charges. Fauci's still on the loose. We've talked about, Como. Nobody's gone to jail. Nobody's been prosecuted. I used to blame Pam Bondi, but of course she's gone now. I think she's still up there somewhere, maybe making $1 million at some corporation as a lawyer. And but the new guy, he hasn't prosecuted anybody. Nobody's gone to jail for COVID. And then I said, well, where is the American outrage? Where are the pitchforks and knives? Where are the protests? Are we all sheep? That's the question I've got for you. Are we all sheep? Or will we see this someday in Washington, D.C.? And I'm going to play this video for you because it is a dream that I have. And maybe someday we'll see this in the streets of Washington, D.C.
The security situation in the nation's capital has deteriorated rapidly this evening. A massive and visibly agitated coalition of citizens has descended upon the White House complex. In a volatile display of force, demonstrators from opposing ends of the political spectrum are marching in lockstep, many openly carrying firearms and tactical equipment. The air is thick with fury. The collective roar of the crowd voices a unified ultimatum against the deep state, demanding an immediate end to the oligarchic structure they believe has hijacked the federal government. Moments ago, Donald Trump was visually confirmed peering out from behind a curtain in the residence, silently surveying the scale of the armed unrest below. Inside the executive mansion, the scene is reported to be one of high anxiety and confusion. While official details are scarce, sources confirm that a gathering of the country's most powerful and influential figures is currently taking place within the West Wing. Reports describe a palpable sense of dread permeating the hallways, with these elite guests reportedly in a state of visible distress as the shouting outside grows louder. Security protocols have reached their maximum level. However, adding to the chaos, unverified reports are now circulating that a mysterious, unidentified individual has effectively assumed command of operations within the White House, bypassing the standard chain of command. The identity and agenda of this figure remain unknown.
All right, we're getting near the end of the video. Oh yeah, we're going to finish up right here. So just remember that I am the Burn on Rumble and BitChute, and now I'm the Burn Report on YouTube and Telegram, and of course I'm back up on X at that CyberSec guy. You might say, well, why don't you try to get the Burn Report on X? I guess I could, but you know, I still do some stuff on cyber. Oh, getting back. Yeah, let's talk about cybersecurity for just one small second. And it's really not about cybersecurity. So last night, I'm finally getting to the point where I can get back to work on, you know, configuring the video studio server. Okay, because basically up to this point, I've just been buying hardware, putting hardware together, installing operating systems, reinstalling operating systems, taking notes, working with Grok. Now I can work with Grok again, thank God. And so I got in there. I said, well, you know what? I was tired. I mean, sometimes it's late at night, 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, you know, I want to get just one thing done on the video studio, you know, on the server, configuring the server. So I get in there. I said, I'm just going to finish mounting the disks because I've already got the 52 terabyte RAID mounted. I got that mounted, and I've adjusted the root mount already. So those two things are done. So there's 3 other disks, and they all serve 3 different purposes. So I got in there, and I know how to get the UUID, and I can look at the size on the disks using the command line. But the one thing I couldn't identify, and I got to get into my notes, it's probably down in my notes somewhere, was which disk was which. See, one of those is a Samsung drive, one of those is a Crucial drive, and one of those is, damn it, I can't remember what the third name brand is. And they all have different speeds, different capabilities. 2 of those are 8 terabytes. One is 4 terabytes. Well, the 4 terabyte one, that's easy. So I don't need, but I do need which one is the Samsung and which one is the other name brand. I can't remember. It was something, dagnabbit. But so now I got to figure out, get with Grok and say, how do I figure out which drive is which? Now, I think you can go in using a graphical tool like Gparted, or Linux comes with called a disks application that you can use, and you can identify the drives. But I don't think it gives you the UUID when you use those tools. So I have to associate the correct UUID with the name brand of the drive. And so every time I run into something stupid like that. Anyway, that's it. We got a long Lego video that came out of Russia. If the video is not too long, I'm going to tack it on right here. If not, I'll put it in the next video. It's like I said, it's like 10 minutes long, but it's good. It's a good quality video. And I just love these Lego videos, and that's why I put them in my videos, because believe it or not, I do. Maybe I'm narcissistic to a certain degree. I do go back. Well, I definitely watch my videos after I put them up at first. But every now and then I'll go back and watch an old video just to see what it looked like back in the day, you know, like a year, take a video from a year ago, and then I go, oh yeah, I remember this Lego video. And then I enjoy it one more time. Alrighty. Peace out. Stay free, stay frosty. We'll check the news on the way back. Maybe there's something else that we can talk about. But I did want to go, this is my COVID video. So in the future, we might put a little bit more about the jab and history and stuff like that. But for the most part, we'll get back to just covering the daily news and a story, especially that story about Gavin Newsom. We'll get that in the next video. All right, that's it. Well, let's get some news on the way back here to the car. I told you in the previous two videos that there was no peace plan for the Middle East. No way, no how that was going to work. The Israelis, they've got some dirt on Trump. He has to go along with whatever they want, no matter what he says. And so anyway, the Israelis are not going to withdraw from Lebanon. Now they've calmed down their activity, from what I understand. They're only killing about 5 Lebanese people a day versus hundreds, like in the past when even Trump said the quiet part out loud that they were flattening entire apartment buildings, stuff like that. So that has been curtailed somewhat, but they just signed an agreement with the so-called Lebanese government, which is really just a proxy U.S. puppet government, that they're going to remain in Lebanon, but they'll quit firing on places like Beirut. I wouldn't believe that for a second. I don't think you can ever trust a treaty with the United States or an agreement with the United States or Israel at all. And plus, Hezbollah was not even included in the whole signing process. So, Hezbollah is not going to go along with it. So that's now back a hot war there. I imagine they're still killing the people in Gaza. Haven't heard much on that for a while because of the news blackout. Like I said, any reporter that gets close to Gaza, the Israelis kill them. They don't want that getting out. And then, of course, we're back in, war is back on the menu, boys. Yeah, Iran, they hit a cargo ship with a drone. Now, I don't know how much damage they did. I haven't actually seen a report on it. I imagine probably wasn't too much. It was more of a symbolic hit, I think, on that ship by Iran, saying, because they were using, I don't even understand how this works. Evidently, there is a route through the Straits of Hormuz close to Oman. Now, did we clear that route? Or did the Iranians leave that route unmined? I guess we must have cleared it somehow. I don't even know how we would do that with, Iranian missiles and, artillery and everything else they could hit us with. Somehow it's clear, or so ships. But anyway, the ship didn't follow Iran's protocol, and so they hit that ship. And then, of course, we turn around and, according to Daniel Davis Deep Dive, who is a trusted source, in my opinion, he says that we struck a tower. Now, you'll hear at Fox News, we hit some military targets. I think it might have been a radar tower, who knows? But we struck a tower. And, of course, Iran now is going to respond in kind. Plus, part of the first line, it's like the first line of the Constitution, Article 1, was the most important one. The first line of the Memorandum of Understanding, I always laugh when I hear that name. What a stupid name. But the first line says that Israel has to withdraw from Lebanon where the war continues. So we know Israel's not going to withdraw. So that war is going to remain tit for tat for at least up until the midterms. And then after the midterms, I imagine Trump might send what's left of our military against Iran one more time, just to satisfy the neocons, the Democrats, so that they won't put him in jail. And of course, the neocon Republicans, and of course, the Israeli lobby, he's bought and paid for by Israel. All right, so that's kind of the big news I wanted to add. So to get a little different story than what you're going to get from other media, or especially the mainstream media. I'm sure Fox News is saying it was a big U.S. strike and we taught Iran a lesson and we destroyed another huge military installation where they were making drones and everything else. Yeah. As Daniel Davis pointed out, all that's deep under a mountain in a tunnel somewhere, and a tomahawk blowing up on top of the ground. is not going to do any damage to a drone factory that's deep underground at the bottom of a mountain. All right, peace out, stay free. I thought we were done. This is Dr. Sherry Tempini. You know, one thing I give Elon credit for, all the people that got banned from Twitter for talking negatively about the drug companies or the jab or masks or anything that went against the narrative, you know, the COVID narrative, they're back up on X. At least the ones that I know of anyway. And I don't know, I've never heard of this Dr. Sherry, but evidently she's able to say things. She says, reminder, Pfizer was forced to publish the adverse effects of its vaccine. They wanted to hide the data for 75 years. A U.S. judge had to force the FDA to release the Pfizer vaccine data, and we soon saw that 9 pages were filled with nearly 1,300 adverse effects. No wonder there's so much pulmonary, or boy, I tell you, sometimes my English ain't that good. Fibrosis, cancer, HIV, myocarditis, cardiac arrest, suddenitis, and much more.
That's something, there's some data point that everybody's missing. You know that every single vaccine maker, except one, Pfizer, was ready to deploy the COVID jab. Operation Warp Speed comes out, Trump gets told about it. Who wasn't ready? Pfizer. So what does Pfizer decide to do? They go downstairs 3 floors to their genetic department and they find SV40. They use SV40 to design their jab because they're late to the game. And what do they then do? They tell their scientists to use a molecular tool to take the evidence of SV40 out, and then they present a clean version to the FDA and they get approved. Now,
and SV40 is the thing that causes that crazy epithelioma turbo cancers?
No, well, SV40 is what we got in the Qatar event.
Okay.
During FDR's term in polio.
The guy that injected his grandchildren.
That's Osher. That's later. But this is the story that goes from FDR all the way up to this point in time. So I want you to think critically now from first principles. Tell me how a monkey virus that shows up in 1951 through 1959 now shows up in COVID vaccines that are supposed to be new and improved 75 years later. And Pfizer tries to take it out so you don't see it. That's why there's 2 legal definitions for BioNTech and for the Pfizer jab.
I don't know how you extract malice from that. I mean,
it's pure malice.
What's the official story? I don't know. What is it?
The official story is they wanted to kill people.
Well, that's not what they're saying in mainstream media, right? So
you don't have to worry about the saying part. That's the cool.
I'm just curious. Like, what? I hear what you're saying,
but the story breaks.
Yeah.
So in 2021, I'm in Clubhouse, the Bitcoin room.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, I said, look, I just did a documentary with Robert Malone, who's an inventor, co-inventor of the mRNA technology, and Robert McCullough, who's been famous for all the stuff he's done.
They've both been on here, yeah.
And guess what I do? I don't talk about the science at all. I talk about one thing. You can go back and watch this. There's 2 patents for Pfizer. I said, there's something nefarious going on here. And I don't tell anybody why I'm making this a big deal in this documentary. Because you heard all the things that I learned in my life in the Danny Jones podcast about SV40 and all that. I had a sneaking suspicion in 2020 that because there was 2 legal definitions, that SV40 was going to be used in somebody's jab. And the most likely candidate was Pfizer.
Yeah.
So what did I tell everybody in Bitcoin Clubhouse? Don't take the jab, and especially don't take the Pfizer jab.
In that vein, I was thinking about this. You know, one of the reasons I don't go to the doctor unless I'm on my deathbed, and I don't take pharmaceutical that they always prescribe, because that's all the doctors were. Now, I don't know if they still are. Beautiful, beautiful sunset there. Anyway, if you ever listen, you know, they'll of course, you know, the pharmaceutical companies advertise more than anybody on TV, YouTube, wherever you go. had always listened to that disclaimer, and I think, how in the hell could anybody take this shit? You know, don't take whatever drug it is, you know, because there is a risk of heart attack, you know, cancer, a risk of myocarditis. You know, I'm just being facetious, but they give you a litany every single time with these advertisements of all the side effects that might occur if you take these pharmaceutical drugs. And I'm like, my God, you know, or you could develop liver disease, you know, that's always in there. I mean, it's, and so I'm thinking, the only way I would take this is they said, this is my only chance to live or something like that. I mean, because the list of side effects on every one of these drugs is just flipping huge, man. I tell you what, I want to get the video. Let's go around the corner. But I'm just challenging you. Next time you hear one of those advertisements, I'm going to try to move a little faster. Be sure and get that, because we're going to get a good view of the sunset here in just 1 second. This is my best view on the way back. And then think about it. If you're taking one of those drugs or your doctor has prescribed it to you, do you really need it? I mean, I would, especially if your doctor's prescribing all that stuff. There it is. Isn't that beautiful? Told you, it was well worth the extra time. That's awesome. Let's just sit right here 1 second. Oh, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's a beautiful sight. By the way, temperature's fantastic and the bugs weren't too bad today. Peace out. Oh, it's always wild when I report on these stories. My timing, I don't know, it always seems perfect. A Syrian girl just put up, there's riots in the streets of Lebanon right now over the signing of that agreement between the Lebanese government and Israel. You know, most people in Lebanon look at that as a betrayal of the Lebanese people. So I imagine that we might have a coup in the process of the Lebanese government's going to be overthrown. Now, if you didn't know, Hezbollah does sit, whatever type of parliament they have, I don't know what it is. I'm not familiar with what the structure of the Lebanese government is, but evidently they do have seats on whatever council or parliament or Congress or whatever you want to call it in Lebanon. So who knows? We could have a Hezbollah Lebanese government here before too long. Probably not that drastic. I only saw this one video. Nobody else is talking about. Syrian girl's pretty reliable. I find her a reliable source, so I'm going to assume that you'll start hearing about these riots in Lebanon right now. So I told you that's a puppet government, a proxy government of the United States, the Lebanese government, and the fact that they kowtowed to Israel, they gave up Lebanese land in that agreement. They said, okay, Israel, you marched in illegally, you know, blew up southern Lebanon, killed thousands of people, and we're going to just give you the territory without a fight. Kind of a good reason to riot in the street, wouldn't you think? I don't know if I'm hearing rain approaching. I think we're going to make it. We're almost there. Two more things I forgot to mention was just to be on the safe side. I went on to X and I changed my password. I'll tell you what, that was a good thing I did. I don't know how many years that password, the old password, had been around. It was a pretty secure password, but it definitely needed to be changed. I mean, my God, it was, since the account had been around since 2014, I'll bet that password hadn't changed, but maybe once since then, probably back in 2018 or so. You know, that was very dangerous to keep it that way. So it could have been somebody on the account. You don't know. I have no evidence of that. And then the other thing was silver. Silver went below $60. I never thought I'd see that. And I'm a silver bug. I don't have any money, but I went ahead and pulled the trigger. Right now, spot silver at SD Bullion is selling $2 below spot, which is unheard of. If you don't know, junk silver is 90% silver, the old American coins before we went off of the gold standard. And so, yeah, I mean, you say 58, that's still expensive when it used to sell in the 20s. I agree, but I don't think you're going to see it go down to 40. I could be wrong. I didn't think we'd ever see it in the 50s ever again. So anyway, for what it's worth, you got a good deal right now in junk silver. at SD Bullion, unless the price went up today. I haven't checked it today. All right, peace out. Stay free. Man, I hope I make it back to the car. Got a big thunderstorm coming in on me. Jack Nabbit, we're still a ways away. But got the numbers, new numbers out of Venezuela. We got 500 dead, almost 3,000 injured. I don't know the extent of the injuries. And then 50,000 still missing. So those numbers are going to continue to climb. I just thought I'd give you the latest numbers. In case I said it wrong, one earthquake was 7.2 on the Richter scale, and the other earthquake was 7.5. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down. Go tell that globalist liar, that Democrat idiot writer, that rhino rambler, that nuclear war gambler, that backbiting U.S. politician. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down.